8:56. I have 4 minutes to get ready.
I'm gonna try to shoot down that resolution for somebody. I might ask you for some numbers.
You can't do that with this short a notice, I'm sorry. Those take a while to put together.
We need to delay it. But our audience is kinda, that's not quality, it's not quantity, it's quality this morning, right? Quality. You know, the one thing that I know, and I don't lay awake and worry about it, but I certainly don't want to miss, if there's something that the county has to do, you know, if there's some flooding or there's, you know, like, Nome is out trying to get, support, you know, through, disaster declarations and these types of things. If there's something that us as the county has to do, I was thinking about stopping that.
Jim Sutton,
Jim Sutton, who's on top of it?
he's the one where it would start.
He's back now.
I believe so.
But
I haven't seen him, but I believe he is.
new FSA manager up here, and I'm gonna stop it. It used to be that we would have to sign the declarations for any.
But we have to have, right,
They changed that.
and we have to have
So much
damage,
damage.
and we don't have that yet.
That's why I said I want to be out ahead of it.
Yeah.
So, But I will not be going to the thing tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm gonna get a new knee.
Oh, okay.
I have a consultation with a physical therapist.
Okay.
At noon tomorrow.
All right.
That happens about once a month. It's just like they have this line.
We do have to still pay for you because,
You want me to pay you?
no, I mean, we've cut the check already and I've reported the number to Hamlin County, so we have to pay that.
You know,
Yeah.
I was gonna be around, but I thought, well, I'll wait till April and do this.
Yep, it is 9 o'clock.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is 9 a.m., Tuesday, March 19th. Welcome to the weekly Cottington County Board of Commissioners weekly meeting. We'll begin the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I believe I led it last week, so Cindy, would you lead it this week?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Cindy. Housekeeping, if you have a cell phone, please silence it or turn it off. If you get a call that you need to take, please step out into the rotunda and take the call so you don't disrupt the meeting. This meeting is being streamed live, so if you wish to address the board, you will be on the live stream, just so you have a heads up and know about that. If anyone in the audience has any items that they would like to bring to the board that are not on the agenda, is there anyone at this time that knows that they would like to address the board? We'll allow time during the open part of this board meeting for that, and we'll allow you a few minutes to explain your concerns or situation. We will not be able to act on it, as it is not would not be an agenda item. I don't see anyone, so how about board members? Are there any items on the agenda that you feel could be a conflict of interest to you?
No.
I don't see any. With that, then
Make a
I'll
motion to
entertain a
approve the
motion to
agenda.
Second.
Accept the agenda. We have a motion by Hatton, a second by Van Duzen. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. What about the minutes of the
Move
March
to
12th
approve
meeting?
as emailed.
Motion by Hatton, a second by, was it Van Dusen? Gable. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? See none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Let's go right on to monthly reports. Rick is here, Highway Superintendent. Come on up, Rick.
He's back. Morning,
Morning, Ray.
Well, last month, we had a lot of complaints from township people about the township board members not addressing the snow issues. I got called out on a few to look at, but they were taken care of by the township board, but I don't want to be drug into the township stuff, but I occasionally do. The week of the 4th through the 8th, our motor graders and our snow blowers worked 12-hour days to try and make room for all the snow and the blow that we've had. Guys worked extremely well. We managed to keep everything going. That was kind of nice. The following week of the 14th, when we had all the snow and the rain, and we sent the trucks out Thursday afternoon, but they had to bring them back in because the visibility was just zero. I was out driving around and found a few people in the ditch, and I called the sheriff's department, and they took care of those. The next morning, we had vehicles stuck in the middle of the road that we had to move before we could plow roads. That set us back. For some reason, they just need to leave them in the middle of the road. They're there for us to deal with. We had a few spots that the water crept up onto the road, and a few spots that the water went over the road. It was nothing major. So those, we had to put out a few barricades to warn the public. Trucks are still kind of an issue to try and keep them all going at the same time. But right now we've got them all going again, so. We had 10 guys go to an MSHA meeting. It's our yearly refresher for mine safety. Safety Benefits puts it on at the Ag Building. Due to the weather, one of the sessions was canceled, so we still have 6 guys that will have to go somewhere. I'm not sure if they'll have another one here in town or if we'll have to go somewhere else. So now that it's warmed up, the farmers are able to move around a little bit. I've noticed they've moved snow out in the field, and they've started hauling manure on our roads. And some of them are in pretty tough shape right now. This is on the gravel. And there's not a whole lot we can do with it until it dries up a little bit. Our guys are out pushing their snow back in places in the mornings, and then when it warms up, we pull them off the road so we don't make any more damage, because people have to get up and down with cars and get to work, school, all that stuff.
Rick, when will we put the load limits on?
Friday. We're going to put them on Friday. The guys are starting to crack seal now, being we got a break in the weather. Usually we've been crack sealing for a month or 2 already, but this winter all we do is plow snow. So we're a little behind on crack sealing. I don't know how much we'll get done, but we'll go until Mother Nature shuts us off.
It's coming to an end.
Yep. Hopefully this week, our employee that had a heart attack, we'll find out if he'll be able to come back to work. So that'll help us out a little bit. Next Tuesday, the South Dakota Association of County Highways Superintendents short course is in
Deadwood. I'm going to attend that. Other than that, we're still working on stuff to get things put back together from the winter. Hopefully we can get a little dry weather before we get any more snow or rain. So
Rick, one of the questions I get asked continually is, how are you doing on the budget? And have you had a chance to compare notes with Cindy, or have you had a chance
No,
to
not
look
yet.
at them? And you just don't look at it, you just do it, huh?
well, it's one of those deals that it's taken a hit, but got to do it. So
Yeah.
There'll be a few things that'll probably get shorted. You know, we might have to do a little less chip sealing or something along that line. We'll just have to see. Not sure yet. So
Yeah, the other part, the other thing I was thinking about is, what about, it's not, if we're going to have some flooding, it's when we're going to have some flooding. Are you prepared, or what are you doing to prepare for those situations? And is there any way you can prepare?
well, we've our barricades and stuff. We've got all that rounded up. The guys filled sandbags yesterday, so we could, because we were just about out. We're going around the spots that if we see a spot creeping up close to the road, we try and get the culvert cleaned out so the water will keep moving, and just getting things pushed back so you can see, because right now, until it gets right up to the road, the way the snow is, it's hard to see where the water's at. We haven't had anybody want to walk out in the ditch to check the water, so it's a little tough.
I think the city has kind of coordinated a group. I believe Jim is involved in that. I don't, Brad, are you involved in those meetings, or Milo? Nobody? So, yeah, that might be. I don't know if that has anything to do or would coincide with what.
Yeah, I
you know,
plan
some
on
of our
getting a hold of
issues.
Jim this week. And
Rick, I was on a phone call with the Office of Emergency Management. I know Sheriff Howell and Jim Sutton were part of that too. I'm doing the PIO stuff for the city, but yesterday the National Weather Service and the Office of Emergency Management was giving updates on the flooding situation on the James River. They also talked about the Big Sioux River. They said that right now we're expecting temperatures to be not freezing for like the next 14 days coming up. So Jim said that he had gone out north and looked at the Big Sioux River, and it was still frozen except for on the edges where it's starting to thaw out. So it hasn't even really begun to thaw yet. So as soon as it does in the next couple weeks, we're going to see those river levels come up significantly. So have the barricades ready, because she's a coming.
Yep.
Sure. So
This Friday afternoon, we're gonna have another flooding of some key individuals, so we're working on getting that time set up. Just trying to stay prepared, stay on top of this.
Now, Rick, will Rick be involved in that as well?
Possibly. I think we're just gonna kind of scale it down just to some of the main instinct commander, some of the key individuals, some of the city, and we'll probably get you involved there too, Rick, just
Okay.
Well, all we can do is do everything we can in preparation, and you know, you don't know. I mean, right now, it's perfect. You know, there's 40-degree temperature during the day and then 20 at night. I tell you, that's a lifesaver.
Yep.
I know, I've lived out there for many, many years, and I always watch Gravel Creek, and that's kind of been my guide, and it still froze over. There's a little bit of water on the edges, but it still froze over. Now, it might be running underneath. As someone told me the other day, they were trying, last week when we had that miserable weather and people were running into the ditch, or going into the ditch off the interstate. And they bring the wreckers out there, a wrecker would come out, and they'd have a terrible time getting them out because there was like a foot of water under the snow in the ditches. And when the cars would go in, it'd be just like a suction, you know, and they were pulling lots of weight with the water and the snow out. And that's what's probably happening in a lot of these places too, so. Anyway, thank you, Rick. Any other questions for him?
that river level can be monitored. Of course, we have those monitoring
Yeah.
gauges on the river, so if you go on the internet to the National Weather Service office's webpage, you can monitor those levels and just watch them. So
Yeah, that's a handy tool.
good information.
All right.
Rick also has agenda
Number 6.
item 6. Rick,
the bridge inspection.
The bridge inspection is Rick's,
Yep.
if you
Yeah.
want to do that.
Yeah, let's do it right away, number 6 on the agenda. Go ahead. And that's action to approve resolution for bridge inspection. And there is a sheet in your packet in reference to that. At least I have one. I don't know if everyone else does. All right. Well, yeah, Rick.
This just authorizes so we can have our bridges inspected. We have so many every year inspected by Banner.
Do you know how many we have up for this year? Is it that list that you
Yeah,
sent
that
me?
was the list I gave you. There was,
11?
yep.
I'll make a motion to approve this resolution.
Motion by Hatton
10, I'm sorry.
and a second by Gable. Any discussion?
I've got it different.
It looks like DOT will secure federal approvals, it says here, for 20%. The county's responsible for 20% of the
Yep,
cost.
yep, the county's responsible for 20%.
That's the same as last year, isn't it?
Yes, yep.
We got
The
good.
motion was by Hanton. Who was the second? I missed-
Gable.
Gable, all right.
Any discussion? Any more discussion? Any more discussion? See none. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
All right, Milo, you're up next. Morning, Milo.
Good morning.
Morning, Milo.
Are you ready for the water?
Well, as ready as we can get, I guess. We're like everyone else in the area. We're waiting to see what the thaw does. Pretty brief report this morning. I'll kind of run through each area individually like usual. Memorial Park, things are starting to wake up a little bit out there. We have had about $3,000 worth of online reservations come in so far. So that's actually a little bit ahead of previous years. We will officially open up for call-in reservations on April 1st, and our first maintenance personnel is scheduled to start on that day. The new furnace has been installed in the manager's house. That's up and running, and I guess that's all I have for you from Memorial Park. The Ag Building. The winter season of large events has pretty much come to a close with the completion of the gun show this last weekend. It appears the building came through everything in pretty good shape. We did have one roof leak at one of the areas where two buildings are joined together, which wasn't a total surprise, I guess, with the amount of snow that collected here and there. We had our our roofing contractor out to deal with that. Like everyone else in our part of the country, we're anxiously awaiting the spring snow melt, hoping to avoid any infiltration into that building out there.
Is this one of the areas that we have previously fixed or, had it redone?
Actually, the whole roof was redone last summer with the rubber coating on there. So it wasn't actually a hole in the roof, it was one of the seams where the buildings come together. Typically, we do have a little problem in the spring with water infiltration into the barn area, just because of how things were constructed in the past. $1,000 worth of fill would have went a long way 30 years ago or 40 years ago, whenever that was put together, but we'll get through it. We always do. Courthouse, the building remodel continues. We do have some contractors that are still working on the final punch list. UJS has begun using the new courtroom on a limited basis, and everything is going well with that. The judge has completed his move into his new chambers. The process of that happening, when he moved out of his old chambers, staff has been in there refreshing that up, repainting and scrubbing carpets and that kind of thing, getting ready for the next tenant to move in, which will be happening, I assume, this week.
The switch over to the new lock system has been completed here at the courthouse. Cindy and I have both been trained on the programming for that, as far as we can control the programming on all the new key fobs as to who gets them, what they have access to, and so providing we can remember what we're doing the next time we go in to use that. You know, there's always something new, isn't it, Cindy?
Yep.
I just received notice yesterday, the judge's chair that we took down to Sioux Falls?
Pheasant Land?
Pheasant Land
Pheasant Land.
Industries in Sioux
Pheasant
Falls
Land.
has been completed. I'm gonna try and get down there and get that back in place prior to the open house.
So this is the refurbishment of the old
Yeah, that's refurbishing of the old
judge's chair.
original chair, you know, dating back to what, 1928 or whatever. So I'm quite excited to see how that turned out. Like I said, hopefully I can get that here prior to our open house. However, I did not submit a travel request for that because I just found out yesterday afternoon. So maybe if we could kind of slide that into my other travel request, or
It's not our travel request to attend a conference or anything, it's to go to pick up
Yeah.
equipment, so I
So
don't
we
think
can
you
just
need,
do
yeah.
that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't think you need
I think
approval
it's
for
a
that.
common consensus, just go get the thing.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
okay,
Might be wise to take a covered trailer though, or a covered pickup.
Yes.
Because it's a little sloppy down in that country, so.
I thought you might be interested in our snow removal cost for this year. So I did a quick report on that. The courthouse detention center property here, we have spent $4,200 in snow removal. Basically, that is just the cost associated with sending the guys out to clear the sidewalks and the parking lot. That does not include highway shop costs, which start adding up in a hurry when we start hauling snow away and using big equipment. The ag building, we have spent $2,500 in snow removal cost, and once again, this does not include the highway shop cost, and that one gets a little expensive. That's a large area we move snow off of.
I would interject at this time that I've been out there several times in the past 3-4 weeks, and it's been good. I mean, the snow removal out there has been very, very well done. It's all been shoved to the south end, and the lot's been cleared off, and I think you've done a good job.
Thank you. I'll pass the word along to those that are responsible for
Yep.
doing that.
Please do.
Detention center, water infiltration. We had water coming in the joints and the seams and the cracks. And when we had our little rain event last week, there again, it didn't come in anywhere unexpected. It's where we always have issues. I think they mitigated everything as well as they could. We did have more water come into Jim Sutton's area. There again, we're trying to keep vehicles out of there to prevent them from thawing and, you know, dealing with this weather. Sometimes it just happens, I guess is the best way to put it. Other than that, it's kind of our normal bumps and bruises over there. That's it for this month. Any questions for me?
Yeah, I've got a couple, Marlo. A couple of things was, I had a conversation with you in reference to an outfit that was looking at the foundation of the courthouse.
Yes.
And I don't expect you to report on, have you done anything, or could you come back at next week or whenever, a couple weeks, and report on, give the rest of
Right.
the board members a glimpse of what we're talking about and what your thoughts are in reference to that?
Just for reference, I did get a report, a report from a company called Reno Dry that actually come in and did testing on our basement walls as far as our moisture content, and give us an idea of what we have for, it's called groundwater infiltration or whatever. Very interesting report, and I'm going to be bringing that to your attention, in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, and then the other thing that I have is, well, two things, I guess, is one, did we get or have we slowed down the falls on the steps? There's been conversation about people missing the last step, or stumbling and falling on this new configuration of glass out here.
Yeah, it seems like it's happening more now than it has been. However, this has been a problem for the 20 years that I've been up here, and it seems to go in streaks. We might, have 3-4 people fall in the span of a week or two, and then we might not see it for 6 months, but it's,
Safety benefits is going to come up and review the
yeah,
area.
I have had safety benefits up here in the past, and basically what they're telling us, if you have stairs, it's a risk. We're doing everything we can. However, I think with the addition of that glass wall downstairs, it's, right now it's a bit of a distraction. People aren't used to seeing it maybe. I don't have an answer for it. We're looking for answers to make sure that we're doing everything we can, put it that way.
And then the last thing that I have is, in fact, I talked to the judge here 2-3 weeks ago in reference to security of the new courtroom from the outside. And I know what I'm talking about.
Correct.
Whether we need to fence it off or we need to, darken the windows or something. But if you would bring a suggestion to us or some thoughts in reference to that, does everybody else know what we were talking about?
We've been talking to the sheriff about that.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, there's discussion there. We haven't come up with any definite plans
Sure.
yet, but working on it.
And I was standing in his office, the judge's chamber, or his office, when we were talking about it the other day, and I could see why he might be concerned, and so it's something that we need to take a look at. I think that, but when I was thinking about that after I was driving away, I was thinking about, a fence would only invite people to say that there must be something secure here, right? It's kind of like saying, hanging out a welcome sign, if we could do it as discreet as we possibly could, that might be the best, but, well, anyway, if you bring a suggestion to us, we'd really appreciate that, okay?
Yep.
Good. I had all the questions this morning. Anybody else have any questions?
Good report. Thank you.
Just looking forward to the open house on Thursday.
Yes.
And what time is the open house, Milo?
The open house is scheduled from 4 to 7.
Ribbon cutting at 5.
Yep,
So it'd be good if all the commissioners could be there and other employees, so when we're doing the ribbon cutting, that would be a nice gesture.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Milo. Have a good
Thanks, Milo.
day. And the sun will shine and the water will run, so. All right, let's go on then to item number 7 on the agenda, an action to approve a discretionary formula resolution. And is there a copy of that? I have it on my,
Yes,
yeah,
there's
there is
a
a copy in your packet in reference to that.
Mr. Chair, I had requested that this particular item be agendized for the 26th of March. I know Mr. Shilkin with the Development Corporation was
Sorry.
planning on being here,
Yeah,
so
I was surprised they weren't in the
yeah,
audience,
so-
so.
Okay, I thought we were scheduled for today.
And I appreciate that because I had some questions for Cindy this morning and she looked at me like a deer in headlights.
So I don't know if I need to make a motion to table that till next week, or,
I don't know if you need to make a motion, I'll just put it on the agenda
Okay.
for
All
next
right,
week.
that's on the agenda for next week. All right, thank you. Let's go on then to item number 8, and that's a request for an abatement. application, and that is in your packet as well. Cindy, you want to fill us in on this one?
This is a piece of property where the property was damaged by fire on April 23rd, and the home was actually removed after that. So the property is located in Kampesca Township. The amount of the taxable value abated was $76,387, and the tax amount is $869.34.
Move to approve that abatement.
Second.
A motion by Hatton, second by Van Duzen.
And it was approved by the Director of Equalization.
Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Just a comment here. Do we dare say who it was?
Well, the property has been sold to the Hillcrest Hutter and Brethren.
I get a lot of questions in regards to do they pay taxes?
Yes,
And this kind of, shows you that they do pay taxes.
they have numerous,
Yeah.
there's several colonies that have numerous pieces of property in Cottington County, and they do pay real estate taxes.
Yep, and they always have, but that's a question, a common question that I do get, is if the colonies do pay taxes, and they do. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same side. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, number 9, is action to award a contract for inmate health services. And I see we have a couple of individuals in the audience from HSA. And has everybody had a chance to read this? Lee, I'm going to just turn this discussion over to you. I think you and the sheriff were up to your eyebrows in this, or maybe a little bit deeper than that, but go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. But, I wonder if the sheriff and Matt might want to come up and help us with the discussion. So,
Good morning, gentlemen.
How's it going today?
Wonderful. Up till now, anyway, so,
Up till now, huh?
yeah.
Sun's still shining and spring is here.
Yeah.
So I guess I can introduce and then maybe Steve, if you gentlemen have any other comments. So the idea with this is to encapsulate, to find a single, I guess, provider that can provide the gamut of healthcare services. So to include medical and mental health, behavioral health, on a day-to-day regular basis within the jail. So it's not everything, but kind of that day-to-day stuff, the routine stuff. And the proposal that came back to do that, and you guys read the Medicare proposal. They gave two variants. One was a kind of a basic package with an annual cost of $167,100. And then there was another one with an additional person on the staff that they would include, basically a medical assistant or what they call it, a healthcare technician, for $217,900. And then one of the other aspects of this, so this is an effort to find cost efficiencies, and so the primary savings with this is kind of in those variable costs, because what typically other jails that have done this have managed to save a lot, particularly in pharmacy costs, so medication costs, and in trips to the emergency room and outpatient care. So sometimes those costs are pretty significant. And you guys have talked to some of the other jails that have used this particular provider, and I'm guessing you would agree with what they said in their proposal was they can achieve savings of like 70 and 80% on those variable costs, which is sounds pretty good. Before going further, I'd make a motion that we accept their proposal, the basic proposal, the $162,100 proposal, not the one with the alternate. So, and then what that motion means, just to interpret that a little bit, we'd accept the proposal. We'd be engaged in a discussion with them, see what the contract language looks like. We'd still have we still have to take action to actually sign that contract once it's reviewed by the state's attorney. If we're happy with it, and then authorize the chairman to sign. So that would be in a couple weeks. the other part of that motion is we have a desired start date of, I think, June 1st in the RFP.
I think that's what the RFP said.
The RFP said. So, if they wanted, if it works out with the other providers that we have and with them, we could maybe start a month earlier, but June 1st is the target date. So my motion would be that we would accept that proposal. So again, $167,100 with a start date by June 1st.
I'll second that motion.
I have a motion by Gable, second by Hatton. Any discussion? What was that,
Yeah, let me pass this
167,100?
out.
I was just gonna say, did you bring your cost
Yeah, let me pass
comparison
it.
sheets?
Let me pass.
Page 10 in your copy there,
Yeah.
Myron.
So, and let me show the audience what I'm looking at here.
Do you have another one, Lee?
Oh, sorry, yeah, I do.
Oh, here it is.
Sorry, I should have passed those out ahead of time.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Cindy.
State law provides the county is the opportunity to lien inmates for medical care. Is there going to be a way to still assign these costs to individual inmates so that we can try and recoup some of our costs? All right.
Yeah, we've been working with them and,
Okay.
that's in the works, so.
That's
All
a key,
right.
well, that's a key
I mean,
question.
it is a revenue
We asked-
stream that we
Yeah.
anticipate,
Yeah.
so we just
Yeah.
want to make sure.
We asked that specific question.
Okay.
And they said, because that's one of the admin support features of this kind of thing, is it's
Okay.
kind of a full package deal where they keep a record of the inmates, healthcare
Good.
stuff, while they're in the jail. So,
Okay,
so that
good.
should be a fairly easy thing to determine.
All right.
Anyway, this chart that I handed out to you, but basically the motion that I made is that middle line where it says the just plain men proposal, so that if you look at the lower part of the graph, I don't know if I can circle this on here or not, show this. Yeah, I can't. So that part there, well, actually, this is the acceptance. That's the motion there, the $167,100. Now, to try to take into account what we would potentially save in this variable cost. So this is a rough estimate. I erred on the side of being conservative. They said 70 to 80% in their proposal. So this is just taking the variable costs averaged between 2017 and 2018, and cutting that in half, so 50% savings. So we don't want to kind of go all the way and we want to apply some
50% of savings of what?
variable costs, so the pharmacy, the outpatient stuff, the stuff that's harder to control, especially if you're a law enforcement person or a jailer.
We took our numbers from 17 and 18, everything we spent on mental health and medical care. In 2017, our number was $264,032. 2018 was $182,103. And Lee, it looks like he took those and averaged them out and got that $223,000. Is that correct?
So that's averaged out without that discount. So that top line is the average of the actual healthcare costs at the jail for 2017 and 2018. And you can see they do vary quite a bit year to year. So, and then the second line is basically the motion, so that the men proposal, the $167,100. And so where we're looking for that savings, so it's in those variable costs. And then there's another couple things as the sheriff and Matt and I were talking. They reminded me of the savings that we would get in less transport, so you're not running people to outpatient care to the emergency room as often, and a lot of times, particularly if that's a female inmate, you'll have to call in somebody to go be with them the entire time they're being attended to, and so that's an additional cost. So if you can reduce those things.
Some of the agencies that we actually spoke to went from 20 to 25 doctor transports a month down to about 5 or 6. So I foresee that cost savings in labor as well.
So those extra costs that you were talking about as far as transportation, those were not taken
Those-
into account?
Those are not including
Not in here.
these figures.
And this is rough. I tried to be conservative. I don't want to exaggerate the savings, but so I think it's pretty close. I mean, it should give you an idea. And this is something we can try. As we talk about, as we negotiate the specifics of a contract based on the proposal, the desire in the RFP was to do something for about 3 years initially. So, but we do want to have the flexibility. So we'll work on some of those details about protecting ourselves and making sure that we don't get ourselves into something that doesn't work out.
So we can go on a yearly contract.
Oh, yeah, I think we
yeah.
should probably.
I'm
have
sure
it-
there's gotta be an out on
Yeah,
there, so.
Yeah, where you can, either side, usually we have a contract where either side can give notice and get out of a contract. So we'll make sure that those kinds of protections are there. But
Commissioner
this is-
Waterman has a question.
Yeah, I see that they based this 167,100, assuming 75 detainees are in there. Okay, if it goes above 75% for 3 months, there could be an increase. But being we have had a successfully, and thanks to everybody involved, we have had less than 75 people. Would this proposal be less than 167,000?
We've talked.
That is a question that we actually brought up to them, because our numbers kind of been fluctuating. That was it 20% of that 75 would have to be down to 60 for an average daily population for 3 months total to be able to get a cheaper rate. That 75 is kind of a number that we picked from the last several years of our average daily population.
So I think given, that's a good, I have the same question. And we talked about it the last.
We talked about this
Yeah.
last week, yeah.
And so I think if it stays low, yeah, so and they said they talk about that, so that's something we have to pay attention to in the contract. But the other aspect, I think we want to make sure that, it's going to stay this low for a while. And given as they described the care in the proposal, the kind of people that they'd have in the jail, I think with the current population, that's still what you would want, even, for now. I mean, that's kind of what I understood, if I understood the discussion.
I was feeling that our numbers could potentially end up higher again.
Yeah.
I think we're just kind of in a little bit of a lull here. Hopefully it's not, but
We're looking down the road, hopefully not, but as the state of South Dakota and Minnesota have a level population, we don't see a big population increase coming. If we're going to hold our own and plus 5%, we might be doing very well.
So for the
Are you
benefit
done?
of the
Were you done, Harley?
Pardon?
Were you done?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
For the benefit of the public, what will we get for this? What are they going to provide?
they're going to provide a full-time nurse in our facility, 24/7 care where we can be able to call after hours, late night, evenings, and get triage care from this company. They're going to provide mental health services, 8 to 10 hours of actually telemed through ITV, where we can log in with them. They're going to actually be able to do UAs and test for UAs right in the jail. They're going to be able to do a phlebotomist, take blood samples and test that, be able to help triage people that are going through detox and determine whether or not it's something we can handle here in our facility or if it's something we got to go out. Should help reduce our bottom line. I was looking at the numbers that Lee has there, looking at 167,000 versus 182 to 264,000. So bottom line should save a little bit. There is a little bit of wild card with prescriptions and of course ER visits. Those are things that you can't predict. So those kind of can go up and down a little bit. One thing that they propose is they can, with that 80% reduction, they actually work with the local ER and our whoever we're going to get medications through, and they work with them to get the best cost sharing for the county as possible.
Because this person will be the one who makes the call of the necessity of, is it an emergency or is it something that can be dealt with on site?
The added risk mitigation and liability to the county is tenfold. It's be one of the greatest things. That's one of the things that I talked with Matt here, and he even mentions it himself. He can recall a couple times where it's really tough to tell whether these inmates, if they're lying or are they just trying to go doctor shopping or, so.
Well, and the issue with that is that you have to almost believe them, because if you don't, you open yourself up for more liability if something is wrong. So.
I need to add one thing. So one of the ways that this particular proposal recommends reducing those, say, emergency room visits is for us to have a few pieces of equipment on hand that we don't have in our house. Most of us don't have in our houses, like the EKG machine. So that would be another purchase, and we'll talk about that in the contract. But those are in the thousands of, single-digit thousands of dollars. And there was one other piece of equipment that I can't remember what it was, but he did an EKG machine and something else.
UA and
That's that. Yeah. So
they do
it's
lab work or
pretty small cost, but can eliminate a lot of the need to leave for the transport, all the things we're talking about eliminate a lot of that. So,
Brad, are they going to be able to, this person going to be able to do blood draws for DUIs?
And that's something that we haven't worked with them on that part yet, but it sounds like they're really open and they'd be willing to work with them.
If
I
they're
wanna
there, yeah.
Be able to get in and just work on the inmate stuff right now, but I think that's something that whenever that nurse is working, I think they'd be willing to do something like that, which would be a cost savings as well.
Cindy has a question.
I do have a question. Do you know what kind of impact this will have on the 2019 budget?
I think it probably an improvement,
Well,
I would imagine.
Yeah, like I say, if approved, we're looking at maybe June or July potentially starting, and we'd have to negotiate, half that 167, and I think we should be able to make it work with the 2019 budget.
Okay.
I mean, it does, the idea is it lends a lot more stability to a very unpredictable line item in the budget. So that's part of the idea, so.
So you
Cup.
mentioned also.
Go ahead, Brenda, go ahead.
About mental health, this will have, somebody will be on site basically or whatever, providing that. Will we still partner with our other mental health agencies in town and for some situations, will that still be needed also?
Yeah, we're still gonna have to work with the Human Service Agency, and we've got a great partnership with them. We would still have to work with them for ongoing treatment.
I would say, I don't know, so the routine, more routine stuff is gonna probably be telehealth. or-
Through the agency,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
proposal.
so,
Yeah.
but I would imagine if there's a referral based on that, then, maybe there's.
Yeah, because
maybe a face-to-face
they
thing.
could need
Yeah, I would
long-term
imagine
mental
that.
health care, and we're not going to do that in the jail.
Yep.
So
And that's one of the
it's-
things that this company told us is the warm handoff that we've talked about.
Yeah.
But we-
They're working with them in the facility here in our jail, and then there's that time where they're out of jail. We need to be able to turn that over to another agency that can,
One question that I have, Brad, you said that this would be is this one person?
one full-time nurse.
Okay, and so
And then access.
what happens after hours if
They have
somebody comes
they have
in?
on-call nurses and doctors where we can call and deal with them and work with them directly.
It's pretty much 24/7.
Yeah.
So.
I talked to about 10 jails the other day. I talked to about 10 jails the other day. They all stated that was the biggest thing, the on-call, they're saving tons of money on prescriptions and transports, and liability, the biggest things. And then a lot less transports and whatnot.
So there's no added cost to the contract for the on-call time?
That's all
No,
included.
that's all built into the contract.
Okay.
Once a week, we'll have an on-site doctor come and visit 4 to 5 hours, depending on how much inmate care we need to come and see him personally. So.
And so some of this, that's why my little table here is a little bit rough, because some of the contract providers did provide some on-call services from time to time, so it's a little harder to tease some of that out, but anyway, so this kind of adds some stability to some of the stuff that was on call as well, and then further reducing, say the medical and some of the outpatient stuff, so.
I see the
That's the idea.
benefit, I see the benefits in having that person make those calls of, is it an emergency or not, for liability for us. Otherwise, we're basically sending everyone, because like Troy said, we don't know, we're not in that field.
Absolutely, and like I say, and that's an ambulance ride and ER visit and all those costs.
Those aren't
add up.
cheap.
And we don't try and send everybody, but you kind of have to. I've been in those shoes where I'm having some chest pains, well, you're having anxiety. Everybody has anxiety when they come to jail. It's common. And then we ended up calling the ambulance, and they said the exact same thing. And then the other guy hooked up the machine to him and said, "Oh no, we're having a heart attack. We got to go." So
I only have you answered most of my questions. One was on availability, and when I'm looking at the references, it's all Minnesota except for, I think, one Iowa, one Illinois, and one Wisconsin or something here as far as the reference sheet goes. It does concern me just a little bit in the fact that we have to go out of state, and we can't get this done locally here. That bothers me that we have to do that. But we have to keep the safety of our citizens and our incarcerated people at hand here. That's very, very important. The other question that I have as far as mental evaluation, you say you're going to do it over electronically. I don't know. Of course, I'm old school yet. It's hard for me to feel that you can do as good a job electronically as you can nose to nose. you understand where what I'm saying there. And this would be electronically done, right?
Well, the assessment.
The assessment?
The nurse would still do the assessment,
Yeah.
similar to what we're doing
Okay.
now. They would go through and they have their own assessment, mental health assessment that they do. And then,
Talking about the screening.
the mental health assessment screening tool.
Yeah.
They have their own that they do. And then there's also, the assessment that the state has been doing here the last couple of years. That's something we plan on continuing to do as well, to report back to the judges and follow up with that. Like I say, this is the one plus about this company is they deal with jails and inmates. Inmates are oftentimes different to deal with than somebody on the street. So this company, like I say, working with inmates is a plus. They're trained with jails and working with this type of.
The other question that I had was, you know, you talked about there's going to be some equipment that's going to probably be moved in. Are they going to come in and say, okay, now I need a room for this, and I need a room for that, and I need an examination room, and we don't have any room? You know, how are we going to handle that? You know, that's my question.
Space is a concern in the jail. Before we accepted anything and before they even put in their RFP, this company did come over and visit and tour our facility. We showed them exactly where they potentially could be. I mean, this is the space that we have, and equipment space, they said, nope, that's absolutely fine working in these conditions, and they'd be able to make this work with what we have, so.
All right.
Mr. Johnson, in reference to your question about the mental evaluation and on the screen, I had that same problem. I thought when you meet somebody one-to-one, you get a body, you read their body language, you read everything. Actually, it comes out that people can be more honest when they do it on a screen rather than doing it face-to-face. And after doing it, looking at it from several different angles, yeah, I was quite concerned about that, but those concerns have been
And
satisfied.
I think we should say something about, if we're talking about this, HSA has done, that provided very good care. And I think kind of, and, you know, face-to-face obviously they're different. I mean, there's going to be some advantages and disadvantages that goes both ways. The main advantage with this is that the availability is going to be almost always there. That's one thing. And so HSA's been they're great, but we can't, it's hard to be there all the time. So that's kind of I think that's kind of the difference. So
Who's going to verify their qualifications? In other words, we're going to have some mental health people, some nurses, some doctors coming into our facilities. You know, did they get their certification from Montgomery Wards, or, you know, who's going to do this kind of stuff?
the
Where are they going to?
state of South Dakota has all the licensure requirements for these medical
And-
So
professionals.
they'd have to be
Also-
certified through the state of South
Yeah,
Dakota.
Yep. They mentioned that they're working on getting all their South Dakota state certifications done. A few things that I did pick up on here, they're ACA, American Correctional Association, nationally certified. They're recognized by them. They got some real good certifications in here, which are
And then the National Correctional Care
National-
Health Certification.
Yep.
I can't remember the exact acronym. It's kind of
Yep.
a long one, but
So
there's
they got
two.
some national certifications of some of the jail stuff that we work with, which is a positive.
I just don't want 6 months into this, you coming back to us and saying, you know, we got this yahoo coming into our jail doing evaluations, and how do we get rid of him? You know, and that's the question that I have. Charlie,
That's the question, and feeding off or expanding your question a little bit. Is this a direct licensing through the state, or is it a license under a blanket?
It would have to be by individual. I mean, that's typically how.
So the
individual
individual nurse, the
certification.
individual doctor, the individual mental health would each have their own standalone license. They would not be under an umbrella.
That's my understanding of how you license, how the state of South Dakota licenses medical professionals, is they're licensed by individual, by practitioner. So,
Well, we've run into some problems in the past with that. And there's been some questions about somebody being licensed underneath somebody else's license, and they were hired by somebody else.
good point.
And that's why I'm bringing this up
I think-
at this point in time.
we can ask the question as
Yeah, like I say,
as we're going through the process, but we've asked about that. I mean, in general, just said, you know, what about South Dakota licensure? And they said, yep, we're working on it. So
Yep.
we'll make sure. I mean, I think that's that's fair, that we're talking at the individual level, so.
Yep.
I lost my train of thought. Oh, one question about, going back to, you know, that's what your question, Mr. Chairman, about making sure that, you know, you're gonna get a good person in the jail, to do this. You know, that's why these gentlemen checked references with the other jails to see how this particular proposer, this particular provider works and does
And
their job.
that's one thing that I mentioned with them too, is working with this company, I have the ultimate say of who comes in to our facility for nursing and whatnot. I said that, you know, they're going to be the one that hires, but I have the ultimate say of whether or not this person is somebody that can, if we've had involvements with them and they don't pass our background test, I should say, we can say no, and they'll have to go on.
Well, my point was is that, you know, we've had a glowing relationship, working relationship with HSA and Shane. And I mean, every time you come here, you've always said how good that working relationship has been. You know, and I'm thinking here, why are we screwing it up?
Yeah.
You understand, you know? You know, and we appreciate everything that you folks have done. And I hope that we can continue working with our local entities here, our services that we have, because they're very, very important to our community.
Yeah.
Whether it's an LSS or HSA or whoever it is. I mean, we need to continue to work as a team. And now we're bringing in some Minnesotans, you know, and I said that with tongue in cheek, because I have several relatives that live over there, so,
Yep.
but there are some good people over there too, I know that. But you understand.
Yep. No,
We just-
absolutely.
we
As I
just-
say, I can vouch. I know Carrie, we work great together, and I know we talked extensively during this process as well. It's just one of those decisions that
Mr.
started
Chair.
with the Human Service Agency.
Just for everyone's information, I would like to ask Commissioner Gable to kind of expound on how this all came about, why we put this out for proposal, just so everyone's clear on why things are changing. So, Lee, would you mind doing
But
that?
I think just.
Well,
That-
yeah,
or
well,
Brad or
It
whoever.
was kind of a mutual discussion between the
You got
sheriff
2
and the
minutes.
jail. Okay. But simply put, it's just a search for cost efficiencies and then looking at, you know, as you have to renew contracts year to year, say with a medical provider or a mental health care provider, you know, how do we achieve the cost efficiencies? I don't think, quite honestly, I think on the harder side to predict was on the medical side, not the behavioral health, not the mental health. That's the harder thing to predict, obviously, because we just don't know what those, you know, medication costs are going to do. We don't know what the outpatient costs are going to do. We know from time to time, and you can look at the two different years, the 2017 and 2018 that you have in front of you, and you see those variable costs. They really vary quite a bit. And so, how do we get control over that? How do we reduce the cost?
The contract was coming due, and it needed to be
On the medical-
reevaluated.
On the medical
right?
side, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
And it was put out for proposals, correct?
Yeah. So, and simply put, and so we looked into how this was done in some other facilities. And turns out there are providers that work typically in a correctional setting, a jail or a prison. And so this particular provider is regional, that's why they're out of Minnesota. There are national level ones that cover, you know, hundreds of jails across the nation. This one deals a lot of, you'll see a lot of the clients are similar sized jails to what we have. So I guess that's probably why they were interested in our RFP, so.
Thank you. Your 2 minutes are up. And I'm going to take executive pleasure for Myron, and I'm granting myself. And Carrie would like to make a comment, and I'm going to ask Carrie Austin if she wishes to make a comment. Yeah, talk real loud so we know who you are. We've been working with this young lady for many years now, and
Well, and I wanted to respect your process, so I didn't know how I could ask questions, a couple questions. Sure.
introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Carrie Johnston. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Behavioral Health at the Human Service Agency. And so Brad was indicating that this company would provide 8 to 10 hours of mental health care. And so I was curious, is that psych evals and counseling and screenings, or is that just psychiatric evaluations with a psychiatrist? Does that involve QMHP evals for a commitment process, or will HSA still be involved in that? And if so, is that person credentialed through South Dakota to provide QMHP evals? So those are a few questions that I had so that we can plan too with my staff and where we want to go moving forward. Also,
Can you answer that? Or is that
I can't.
something that you
I think I can answer broadly. I mean, wouldn't HSA still be involved in the committals?
okay.
Correct, I think, is that,
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's,
that's
I mean, that's fair to say, that's the stuff.
the part that I don't like is I think. I want to know.
Yeah, so that's,
You
and we'll
understand.
make sure of that as we.
They will be still involved with committals and everything
Yeah.
else that comes with
Yeah,
those.
and I think that makes sense, I mean, and then also,
We're just talking about the jail inmates,
Yeah, what-
kind of behavioral health, working with the counseling of the people that need help in the jail.
Okay. Ongoing counseling.
Yeah.
And that's what will be provided, 8 to 10 hours, is what- plus psych.
Yeah.
And like the doctor visits, so Myron brought up the inmates call it doctor in a box. They still do that at HSA. They still go there and visit someone through the TV.
Yeah.
That's the same.
For
Yeah,
psychiatry.
they're doing that now.
Talking about the way the world's going.
Sometimes
it's
we are,
getting worse.
but I think, I would picture, I mean, HSA is still the resource. You know,
Okay.
You're a local resource to say, does this look
Okay.
right to you? I mean, yeah, kind
They
of.
would still be the county mental health.
Yeah, you're still a community
Okay.
mental health agency.
I was
so-
just curious,
Yeah,
so.
but, you know,
right.
you're talking to people who are not QMHPs, so some
I
of the
don't have a
terminology.
clue what you're talking about.
Well, then, two other concerns I would have. So, and I sent you each an email before I came. It was late. It was like 8:30 this morning when I sent it, and that's okay if you didn't read it. But 2 years ago, we did a community sim. Remember
Yep,
that brought
yep.
all these individuals together
Yep.
for 2 days. And as I recall, the outcome of that was that we needed more mental health services in the jail. You know, Sean is there currently 20 hours a week, and now we're scaling it back. I mean, I feel like the county has spent a lot of money on Stepping Up program, on that simulation that we did those 2 days, and trying to ascertain what we need to do better by the inmates, which all seem to indicate a need for more mental health services. And I thought that conversation came up too about how Sean's only there 20 hours a week. Could we get him more? So my concern is that now we're going back to just 8 to 10, and that will include psych. And I'm not sure how that seems to be an exact opposite of what that simulation
Well,
produced.
Do you mind if I just take a quick stab, and I'll let you explain? Just, my understanding of their proposal is that it wouldn't be a decrease. I mean, they'd be able to provide it more, you know, for a longer period of time than we have, you know, Sean in the jail, which is, like I said before, is excellent. But, I mean, because, I guess I don't see that as a reduction, but the time window would actually be larger that we'd be able to provide under this proposal, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, that's absolutely what I was going to say. We're actually going to get more qualified mental health professional time with certified, so we can actually deal with medications and we can work on that. We're still going to have our mental health assessments. They're still going to be done by our nurse that's going to be able to come in and triage and deal with that.
So when you said earlier 8 to 10 hours of mental health, that's you'll get more than that.
Yeah, 8 to 10 is actually with a qualified mental health professional. And then the nurse is still going to be able to deal with the triage of the assessments that we currently do.
So, I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess there's some, we don't know until we get there, so exactly what it's going to look like, but, you know, as best as we can understand.
First thing,
Yeah,
that
balance
nurse
out.
going to be qualified to do that. That's the person,
Yeah.
that's the person that's going to have to come in here, because they're not all.
Well, that's in their proposal, Mr. Chairman, so that's what the proposal
And that's part of
says.
this jail, the training that they do. They also provide training to the jail staff biannually for first aid, CPR, and to continue on with the training we got there, so, but yeah.
Just because selfishly, what has helped us at HSA is having Sean at the jail to attend to daily crises so that we didn't have to take clinicians out of seeing paying clients to come down and do those assessments. He kind of does first line screening. If the person needs to be committed, then I would come down as a QMHP and do that, which I still would do that. My last question is just, how can we get to know this company so that they are familiar with community resources? Because that has also been a big push, part of the Stepping Up program the past 5 years that we've dedicated money and time to, is when an inmate is released, Sean is aware of the people in the community, and so is HSA, obviously. How can we do that warm handoff? That's part of what Deflection Plan has brought
That's a
up.
very good question.
So Minnesota, how will they know what resources we have?
And that's one thing when we were negotiating, that's why I said we need to have that warm handoff, because once we're done with the jail, you guys will be the ones that will be providing this care. They are absolutely good with that. That's actually in the proposal. They mentioned that that's something that they deal with all the time. In every facility they work with is making sure they have that warm handoff. I'd like to get the nurse involved with the Stepping Up program to continue on with what we got going there and to build those relationships with HSA too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Super. That
Thank
was
you,
a
Carrie.
question kind of that I had when I said, so, you know, we've been partners with you. What's ongoing partnership going to look like
Right,
to continue on?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think it's gonna change a little bit, I think, but yeah, that's part of their job. That's part of in their proposal in the RFP, you know, we expect them to work those relationships and get it right. And, yeah, I would expect if they can, they might even hire somebody locally if it works out, you know, for some of the stuff. I don't know about the behavioral health side of it, but, you know, I can't say that for certain, but I would imagine, you know, as with, you know, a lot of contractors and providers, they'll hire some of their employees and subcontractors locally, so.
Those are some of the things that will be spelled out in the contract, the actual contract.
Yeah.
Can really make sure we have those questions answered. Okay.
Well, we've had some good discussion this morning, and I got my head cleared up a little bit. I feel a little bit better. I'm still, this is an, you know, if we were talking about herbicides and insecticides, I'd feel a lot more comfortable, but I'm kind of caught up here. Any other questions for Brad or or Carrie, you know, if she
Well,
you
thank
have a
you for
question
giving me
for
the
her?
opportunity to ask all those questions, because I was curious how all that would work.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
But we really do appreciate HSA's partnership with us, and we certainly want to continue that partnership in the future, and appreciate everything that you've done. And we're going. When's the new turnover going to happen over HSA?
I believe Dr. Sherman's last day is May 1st, but we have not.
That's coming pretty quick.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
That's
so
right
we've
around
got-
the corner. All right. Okay. That being said, we do have
Thanks,
a
Carrie.
motion on the floor and a second. And according to the agenda, it says action to award a contract for inmate health services, and that was a motion that Commissioner Gable made. Is that correct? Just
Right,
for
can I
review,
just
it's been a
make
long
sure
time.
the terminology, the motion was to accept the proposal, so it's not necessarily awarding the contract, but to accept the proposal for $167,100 a year, and then we'd work that out in the language of a contract based upon, you know, the RFP and the proposal. And then there'd be a subsequent action once we get that worked out to authorize you to sign, so.
So
Any-
the contract will be coming yet, basically?
Yeah.
And there are other questions. Now, this is within our budget. This is budgeted item yet, so we're still within our
And
budget.
since they're still working on their South Dakota licensing, which they don't have yet, we won't approve that contract with them until that is in place, correct?
And of course, our state's attorney would have to review the contract and make sure everything is good as well.
Okay.
All right, is there any other questions? Good questions. Any questions, comments, any other questions? Commissioner Waterman?
Yes, so to verify this, the action to award a contract
Proposal.
Accept a proposal is.
is not stated correctly then.
No, we're going to, the action to
Accept a proposal.
accept a proposal.
But that's not what it says. It says
No,
to
I know.
award a contract.
Yeah, we're not accepting the contract at this time, correct?
That's correct.
But that's not on the agenda. This is to accept the contract.
You're right.
I mean, the question is that a?
So this would have to be tabled till next week if we're going to do a proposal, accept a proposal.
Good point.
Is that a lawyer question? I mean, we're not, I think an awarding of a contract is a more serious matter than accepting a proposal.
Well, certainly, and that's why I think that's why it brought
Cindy, are
it to my attention.
You got your lawyer hat on here?
We can postpone it. I mean, we can.
The agenda, you know, is
It says to award a contract, and we're not actually awarding a contract.
No, we're not.
All right, in that case, then we can move the correct wording to next week. We've waited this long, another week isn't going to hurt us, I guess. Is that right? That doesn't mean that can't slow down any of your
Do I
investigation
need
on that
do I need
process.
to amend my motion to agenda item, just, or I guess I could just withdraw it, because it's not the same thing, so.
I guess that you could withdraw your motion
Yeah,
and
that
with Commissioner
seconded
Hatton, would
it,
you
so, yeah.
approve of, she had the second?
Yeah, so we'll just put it on the agenda with accept the proposal next week, so.
Okay, so we'll put it on the agenda for next week to accept the proposal. That was the motion. Now, is any discussion in reference to that? Any
He
discussion?
withdrew it, so now we don't have a motion.
Right.
Yeah.
So we,
Yeah.
we're
The
not-
So we got our
the
discussion
motion's been
done for next
withdrawn,
week.
it's gone.
It's gone.
Yeah,
It's gone.
So our,
Beyond
but
next
our-
week.
But our discussion is all done for the most part for next week,
Yeah.
okay? So
Yeah, our
these
discussion
poor
is done.
people don't have to.
but,
you have
but
to-
they made, when did he make a motion? No, we can just put it
No.
on the agenda.
Nope, he just
Yep,
withdrew.
just put it on the agenda. All right, we're good.
Be the easiest.
Thank you, gentlemen, and thank you, Carrie.
Just so people understand, Mr. Chairman, why we did that. I mean, it's in the interest of transparency to make sure that people, you know, understand exactly what we're doing, and so.
No, not until this afternoon again.
All right, item number 10, action to declare 2006 computer equipment surplus and to be destroyed. Who's got the equipment?
That would be my office. This is one that's probably already actually been destroyed, and we just missed getting it off the fixed assets file.
Move to approve.
It's kind of interesting. You can look back and see what I paid for a computer.
Yeah.
In 2006, I paid $2,000, and the ones I just bought in December were less than $1,000. And they're faster.
Move to approve it.
I have a motion by Hatton, second by Gable. Any discussion?
Second by Waterman, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, second by Waterman, I'm sorry. Second by Waterman. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 10, or number 11 is action for change orders for the courthouse project. Having change orders this week?
No change orders, just as Milo said, working off some of the punch list. And then I think there might be one other quote related to the security setup that we get later, but nothing right now.
Have we
Mr. Chairman.
used the security system at all?
Tested, they've been trained on the bag pass, the x-ray machine, so done, but no, we've not started using it yet.
That's,
I have a question from the media standpoint. How do we get through that if we're coming in 20 minutes ahead of time, there's a line, and we've got to be there? No.
That's a good question.
Because
We'll have to look at
I've
that.
experienced it before with other courts.
Yeah, if there's a big court, something going on, so that's gonna have to be worked out in the SOP.
We'll get you through.
I'm sure we can take care
Well,
of it.
it could be a problem, you know, because I'm not going to barge in ahead of somebody, and I'm sure the other thing is also.
The easier answer is to come a half hour early.
Yeah.
Take your Monopoly card.
That would be fine. All right, let's go on to number 12.
Just so we're aware.
Action to approve claims for payment. Do we have any this week?
We have two claims. These are our credit card claims that we pay at a different time of the month to avoid service charges. The first one is to Visa Reliabank for $345.71 for various supplies for the sheriff and fuel costs. The second one is also to Visa Reliabank for $196.83, also for various supplies and travel costs for emergency management.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Van Duzen, second by Waterman. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. What about on number 13, action to approve automatic budget supplements?
Nothing for 13 or 14, and I did receive one travel request late yesterday,
All right,
and that was for our facilities manager to attend a travel show in Aberdeen.
Move to approve.
motion by Hatton, second by Waterman. Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Old business, do we have any mature business to bring to the board today?
Just a reminder, Commissioner Hannon has coordinated the open house this, for Thursday for the courtroom remodel. And so, looking for that from 4 to 7 this Thursday, the 21st. Also, the CCJAC, we have a very short agenda, just one kind of formality to appoint officers to take care of it. So we'll just pull aside and meet during the open house. And if anybody's interested, but it's not going to be a very exciting meeting, that's at 6:10.
Do you know where you're going to have that
Well,
done?
it'll either be the jury suite or
Okay.
or maybe we'll just pull aside to the corner of the courtroom. So it'll be somewhere.
Short meeting.
Yeah, short and sweet.
In addition to the open house, there will be a formal ribbon cutting performed by the Chamber of Commerce at 5, so.
All right, any other old business?
The Sioux Valley Commission meeting is tomorrow. I just had an email from the Director of Equalization Office that says, if the service light comes on, or the service engine soon light comes on, it's a coolant flush. It's all right. You're just supposed to let them know when you bring the vehicle back.
It doesn't. So who is going for sure tomorrow? Because I did call and get a vehicle, so.
And
I
I,
am.
I plan on going depending on the weather and the water that's gonna run.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah, I
I-
do have 4 of you signed up to go.
Told them 10:30-ish to leave.
and I can't, I was planning on going and anticipate on going, but I can't go. I have a conflict of interest. In the end of April, I'm gonna get a new knee, by golly, and I gotta meet with some therapists tomorrow, and I don't know if they're gonna work on my head or my knee. But
So that's a conflict of interest, Mr. Chairman, or a scheduling?
yeah,
a
that's a
scheduling
conflict of interest, yeah.
And I have a meeting in Sioux Falls, so I will not be.
So I'm sorry that I won't be able to attend, but anyway, let's go on to new business. Is there any new business to discuss?
Just, Mr. Chairman, just a JDAI meeting today.
Say that again?
JDAI,
Okay, yeah.
Juvenile Detention Alternative Initiative meeting at the high school today. Commissioner Van Dusen and I are going to attend that one.
I have an LEPC meeting at noon today.
What else we got?
Well, when we move to the open, I have several things.
Right, is there any other new business? See none, let's go to the open then.
Okay, so first of all, I guess I'd like to congratulate the Waverly South Shore girls basketball team for making it to the state tournament. They took 8th place in that event. Today is Big Wheels Deliver Meals for the Senior Center here in town. March is the month for recognition of senior meals. So they pick a day typically in March, the Senior Center does, and then different individuals from the community go and deliver the meals for them today. So I will be doing that at 10:45. So
I delivered Meals on Wheels last Friday. And let me tell you what, they just about did me in. The Meals on Wheels are wonderful. They're wonderful. But it was so icy and so miserable. And who do you deliver Meals on Wheels to? The elderly. And they can't shovel their sidewalks. And I understand that. One lady, she was so apologetic that I finally got to her front door with her meals, and she said, I called my shovel man last night and told him to have that thing shoveled before the Meals on Wheels come, but they're busy too. I mean, they're shoveling walks and whatever all over town, but there are some people that I think probably, I know I crawled over a snowbank this deep to get to a sidewalk that hadn't been shoveled yet this year, and finally got to the house, and there was a young lady there that could have met me halfway, I think, or at least on the other side of the big mound of snow. But I paid my dues, and I even have a gouge to prove it, you know. I was in one place, and I slipped and caught the tailgate of our Tahoe, you know, the hatch in the back end. But so hats off to all those people that are delivering Meals on Wheels. It's not an easy job, especially in the wintertime. I came back to the center and I said, I think I'm done. I mean, officially done.
I think the important thing to remember with this is a lot of times you may be those people delivering meals may be the only person that individual sees all day. So it's
I'd
kind
say
of a
that's-
welfare sort of checkup on them as well to make sure everything is going
Which
well.
I did have one house I did get to, and I could not get anybody, I didn't raise anyone. I mean, I don't know if the doorbell worked, but I pounded on the doors, and I listened to see if there's any activity in there. And when I went back to the center, I had them call and check on that individual, because they may pass away in there, I don't know.
And I believe that is a protocol that, yeah, you mentioned that you weren't able to contact that person, and
That was the only
they
one,
do
though.
follow-ups.
The rest
Nope,
were-
I wore the right shoes today, so we're good.
All right, good. Thank you for doing that, and like I said, I do that, we do that on a regular basis, and it's always interesting to knock on their door, and they're always anxious to greet you, and I always greet them and visit with them a little bit, and you're right, they're probably the only people they see outside of the house all day. Any other thing for the open?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Waterman and I had a chance to sit in on a court session down in the new courtroom last Tuesday, and we were the only two in the courtroom, along with it was a protection order issue, and once that was resolved, Judge Spears asked us to meet him in his chambers. So we had an opportunity to meet with Judge Spears, and I'm sure he wouldn't mind us telling you, but he's very pleased with the courtroom. I noticed the acoustics in there are very good, the microphones, so everybody should be able to hear throughout the courtroom. And
Benches are still hard, though.
Benches are still hard, yeah. There's plenty of room for people to sit, but I would also encourage people to come out on the 21st and check out what your tax dollars have done to the courthouse and the courtroom, because it's a beautiful courtroom, and I think it's going to serve our county well.
Not only do they get to tour the courtroom, the clerk of courts have also opened up their office, so that we did redo and remodel that room as well. So they will have an opportunity to go through that too. So
It's been a
all
long
of the
process, but
remodeling.
it's been worth it, right, Lee?
Oh, yeah. That's good.
What else?
That's it.
That's it? Anything else for the open? Anything else for the open? Nothing? About any public comments? No, Commissioner, we just did all of our comments.
Make a motion
I do not have a request for an executive session.
motion to adjourn.
I have a motion by Hatton to adjourn, a second by
Oh, second.
Gable. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
I gotta get over this.
I need to have
We
you
should,
sign right there for the abatement.